Booyah! Time to give it to ya. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's up, my good people? I should have on, actually, Cheryl, I should have brought like a little snow hat because it's snowing. It's
Oh,
snowing in Cleveland. It's snowing in Cleveland. But don't worry about it because you guys are probably nestled in somewhere. Whereas I see a little ray of sunshine in the back, and I can't stand San Diego. That's why I'm moving there. Did she just move out the way? Of course, I'm in my office in case it's a snowstorm. Welcome, my good people, to America's. I'm going to claim it, Cheryl. This
okay.
is America's favorite podcast about Afro hair, and it is affectionately titled "The Dumbest Woo That People Say About Black Hair." It's me, your homegirl, Ladosha Wright, and my PNC right over there, the one and only, my partner in cosmetology, Cheryl Morrow. And boy, do we have a topic for you. But we has us an official theme song. So what we're going to do while we're waiting for some people to come in is we're going to play our theme song. And remember, this theme song is, well, we just claimed it. It's really, it's hers, but it's ours. But she hasn't come after me yet, so I don't think she will. Can you say, what's her name again? About Sister Let Me Do Your Hair. What's her name again?
Great, the great
What?
Rachel Evans.
All
Never seen.
right, Rachel. Rachel, we got people coming in the chat. They like, yeah, come on, play that tune. So we're gonna play that tune, and also let's send this out to Miss Ruth E. Carter. She won not one. This is her second Oscar. All right, let's give it up for Ruth E.
Really?
Carter. Yes, for Wakanda. Wakanda forever, okay? So we're gonna play this song, Sister, Let Me Do Your Hair, as we welcome in our wonderful, wonderful partners. Here we go, here we go. It's coming through. Now I'm gonna sing. Hey.
No, don't sing.
Yeah, why not?
Dedicate
Coffee
this to
Light.
Ruth.
Coffee Light.
Go
What's
ahead, what
this?
is oh, Kofi's like, hey, doing,
Coffee.
Kofi?
What's up, Kofi? You're gonna love this one.
Come on in, folks.
Yeah, come on in.
Kofi, you let me. We got to get you to
You
rap like
guys, yeah, they feeling that. What's up, Sandra? I see you in the chat. What's up, fam? We love y'all so much. It's going down. Yeah. Kofi, like, let me do your hair. Yeah. All right, that's what's up. Let me do your hair. It's by the one and only Rachel. Say Rachel's last name again.
Evans.
Rachel Evans. That's right, guys. She is the daughter, you said, of a very, very
Famous,
notable,
legendary jazz musician.
Mm-hmm,
Absolutely.
mm-hmm. And what's her dad's name?
Carl Evans Jr.
Carl Evans Jr.
Bad man. He was a bad brother.
If you are a jazz enthusiast, then you probably already know who he is. I'm gonna have to, of course, by the time we come back, I will probably be a Carl Evans fan. So I'm gonna make sure I do a little bit of my homework and learn more about who he is. But his daughter, so far, is the whippity snap. So but right now you can just, if you're like, well, I want to hear it again, you can just join us every Monday at 6:00 p.m. EST and 3:00 p.m. PST. I was trying to do a video and I had it all, the ESTs and the PSTs. I'm like, just get on here, all right? Just check us out every Monday. And just scroll through, and then you'll probably find us on here. But we are dedicated to the cause of Afro hair. Our goal is to really unite. We also want to clear a lot of things up. Also talk about the future of it, the science of it, the love of it, the controversy of it. Because it has its own unique lane. And so today we're going to be talking about that unique lane. And so we have a very wonderful dear friend of mine in the chat, and that's the one and only, the illustrious Kofi Paisai of the Masi Warrior clan. This brother is dedicated. When I tell you, Lord child, Kofi, what you must have about 80 books out here. I think when I think of Kofi, I think about there's a I don't know if they are like a group of people or is it a company. It's called Tap Videos. It's right here on the YouTube platform, and they're really known for like playing like all these lectures from like Amos Wilson, John Henry Clark, So he has one on there with Amos Wilson, who's talking about the importance of why we need to write books. So Kofi, I just thank you very, 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 very much for your contributions and your dedication and your commitment to putting these books out, because we really, really, really we need more books. I'm here to tell you, and Cheryl, I know that when you travel with your books, you guys would be surprised to see there are not a lot of us out there that's really promoting our books like we should. Some people, they write those books and then they go and they sit in the shelves and they give them all away. But let me tell you, if you are an independent author like Cheryl, myself, and Kofi, be sure to be out there promoting your literature because it's really needed. Because that's a complaint. Don't you hear that a lot, that there aren't a lot of books about hair or whatever? And Cheryl and I were sitting there like, we got books. Sure, like I got several books. I was brought up in books. I write so much. I got my own newspaper.
Yeah.
So before we get into this topic about Afro hair, sure, just give us a little bit, so people can understand, like, really the importance. If you are an indie author, or if you have a book, maybe you have a publisher behind you, about, like, tell them, like, come on, y'all, get your books out there. Now, stop being shy. Be like Kofi. Hop on somebody's chat and promote your book. So, come on, sure, while I look through some, I got to find and make sure I got this. Tell them right quick. Come on.
Well, it's important because the perspectives, the myriad of perspectives that we need to have, it just, it's important because our perspectives on especially things that are not written about, it's going to behoove authors who look like the very subject that they're talking about. Mm-hmm. And most likely the research will be done wholeheartedly. And so, it'll stop our complaining about what's not there. And
Yeah.
so
So
you need
yeah.
to
So
just get in.
come on, guys, get on out there. And if you have those books, if you're afraid to write the books, listen. I'm here to tell you, they're gonna come after you. It's part. It comes with the territory. Write it anyway. You know you'll get better as you do it. But just go ahead on. Cheryl had to walk me through that. Someone blasted my book, and Cheryl was like, "Girl, if you gonna get out there," I said, "Okay, okay, I'm back out there." So you got to have some tough skin. But we need to see the literature. What's up, Miss Morrow? We have D Morrow in the chat. She's our professional. Hi, Ladosha. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, D Morrow. You're so swelligant. You know, we like the swelligant people in the chat. Y'all ain't all rough like me. What's up, G? Remember Flavor Flav? It's thumping and jumping like two dogs humping. Flavor Flav was like always just like all over the place. That's me. I'm all over the place. But I won't be all over the place because we have a topic tonight. This topic is really dear to my heart because this one it just kind of it throws you off your kilter if you've been taught an informal, education about hair. And this is where the natural hair movement has a very valid point. And this one is about the Afro hair movement. And so some people say that there was a movement in the 60s, and then some people say there was a movement in the new millennium. And so this topic actually was birthed out of the topic last week, where people just really wanted to know more about this whole natural hair movement because there's just so much. So before we jump into the topic about Afro hair, I do really want to know. I just want to pick your brain, Cheryl. Why? Why is this hair? What is it about this hair that's just making the world just
Nuts.
What is it? I'm gonna mute my mic because we gotta get a baseline before we get into the topic because I have my questions. And now you guys know Cheryl and I, we do not script this. So this is what we call pure and unadulterated. Okay, so Cheryl, why? What is it about this hair that people they own it? I mean, I'm gonna show a clip, but anyhow, just help us out. What is it about Afro hair? Should I show the clip first or go ahead on?
You can show the clip first.
All right, here.
I don't know. Because I don't know what you're about to show.
Here's the clip. Let me show the clip first. Cheryl doesn't know what clip. All right, guys. Here's the clip about Afro hair. It's actually to promote the show, the topic tonight. So let's hope I have the right one. Here we go.
What happened to the natural movement, of that time? Why did it die? It started in the 60s and 70s. People overlooked it.
Because black is beautiful, baby.
The Afros of the 60s and 70s, it was not just a style, nor merely a political statement.
Black power to me is personal power, economic power, and money power.
But one thing I've noticed in the natural hair community is that there seems to be like texturism.
I think only when people are accepting of the kinkiest hair type in its untampered state.
What you talking about, Will?
Join us tonight as. All right, Cheryl. I'm hoping that everybody in the chat is just kind of going along with. Are we progressing? Is this the evolution? So what's the fascination? Why are we just all got our panties in a bunch? I'm sorry. Maybe your drawers in a bunch.
Right. I will say that we have to remember that it was the comb. It wasn't the hair. It wasn't about the hair. It was reuniting with the comb, the Afro comb, in dealing with having a grooming tool. The hairstyle came maybe about 4 or 5 years later. It wasn't the hair first. But it's very important that we have two important words. And it came out in the music, it came out in the protest, it came out in the Flower Child and the music, that whole Woodstock generation, in the Vietnam and things of that nature. So the second clip of the Black woman saying, Black power, okay? In Black power, as my dad would say, Mr. Morrow says the Afro comb, the Afro pig comb, was the sixth man in the revolution, because it was about the comb and what it represented in terms of freedom for us to be able to comb our hair unencumbered. And so we didn't have to use the implements that white beauty just handed down to us. Okay. And that is coming forth from 400 years without a comb from the plantation. And so it was a reuniting with the Afro pick, which is a comb, as Mr. Morrow says, we left at home, right? And so when that reunion happened, it began to dovetail into Black power. And then it turned into what the first guy said, Black is beautiful, okay? And then I'm Black and I'm proud. And so it was, and the girl is correct in your video. She says, well, what happened? Because it was about living the truth of being Afrocentric. And I think that because that generation has not met the millennial and the Gen Z generation in terms of a town hall or a conversation, we may have had these conversations in our homes, but the two generations have not settled on what and chronologically what happened, why it happened, the reason for it in the first place. And so we just get our conversations, but it was to establish a landmark in our culture as we were Americanized as well, is to make sure that we had a power base and a power place to be ourselves, our Black powerful, Black beautiful selves. But it wasn't about natural. That's a different phenomenon.
Wow.
And yeah, different phenomenon. So that is why I think the word natural, we were dealing with Afro curliness, Afro-ness, Afro art, Afro presence, Afro culture. The word natural is, as you can see, it is causing most of the dissonance between us.
Now, would you say, now I kind of hear, so two things about this conversation that really jumps out. One is African Americans finding their place in a country that really don't want us here. Maybe they're working, I think they're okay, maybe now, but definitely, well, my parents, let me just speak from my personal experience, that my parents definitely kind of raised us with the feel that, Black people were not wanted here. So you have this kind of mental confusion where, Americans, that are of color don't really want to be here. So maybe we're trying to extrapolate ourselves, mentally out of this place, but we won't leave. For as much as people say they don't like it, but they don't. So, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like they're using the hair to trying to say, I'm physically here, but I'm not here. But to outsiders, it's like, well, you guys are here. Why don't you just go back home?
Well, it's not that they don't want you here. They want you here. They want you in a level of position. So they don't want you. It's not that they don't want your body in your work, what you offer, what you bring. It's not your presence, it's your expression. Your expression must be westernized. Your expression is your Blackness in a function, your Blackness in the liberties of your citizenship. They want to dictate how and what your expression of your culture is, long as it's out of the confines of religion. Religion is an exception, but they don't want you outside of what they call the Western look, which is the conformity, the standard of what that looks like, because this is a white country. We don't mind your black presence because you give us benefits, you enrich us, we give you your worth economic power, your commerce, your contributions, your music, your art. But when you begin to express it, well, then you are participating in the full liberties of what American life is about. That is where the slippery slope is.
Okay. She got me together, Shannon. You see that? Because I'm like, Black Power, baby. We're going to be radical. So it's just a little bit. I get it now. You're giving us a really good context because when you're living something and you're in the throes of it, especially me, like I'm just like, I'm all passionate, I'm all in it. And I don't necessarily come outside to kind of see it, from the position of where we're truly at. So if we're talking about expressing ourselves, and of course we all know that how we do this is very differently. So let's kind of get into the beginning of this Afro, where we ended up with a groupthink around how this look should be, because now I'm just going off of what I've read and some of what I've heard about the Afro. So I could just see it in the chat already that the Afro was a statement of power. You got Ebony saying respect the chocolate. So was the Afro truly about power? My understanding is that the Afro was about redefining, taking us away from that Negro, yes sir, ma'am, okay. So what was the Afro? Here we go, y'all. Get y'all pens ready. Here it goes.
Well, let's just say it this way. It is, now I want you guys to also remember that the Afro of Black Americans was already worn in terms of, it didn't have a name, but when you guys go Google Afro Europeans, Afro Asians, Afro Cubans, Afro Latinos, Afro Fijians, Afro Malaysians, Afro Indians, the hair, wearing the hair free is not it's contemporary. It is what everyone was doing. Now, when you also go back into history, Afro also was the most diverse worn hairstyle in the American beauty commerce, because you had every race on earth that was in the closet of having curly hair now could wear it freely. And that's Jews, European Jews, that's Persian Jews. Everybody who had Afro curly hair now was, wow, the Black American has set everybody free with this Afro power movement. And then, strangely enough, that is when white kids with straight hair decided that they wanted to also be free, and they wanted to wear their hair just straight down, because their culture, they said that you must go to the beauty shop and get it coiffed. Coiffed for white hair means curl. And so that's when they had, you never seen prior to maybe 1975, 1973, white people wearing their hair stringy straight down. It was the opposite mirror to Black people wearing the Afro, because the Afro signified the freedom of humanity. And so, but the way we tell it now in Afro studies, Afro professors tell these things, and the way the political realm tells it, they think it's exclusively Black, and it's not. It was Black people expressing themselves, and it was just the wave of humanity just spread. But here we go again. What is different, though, is that Black people for the first time had a comb, a tool, and then sprays, and then created a commerce and began to create an economic giant within the beauty sector of beauty. And so then the Afro was seen as extremely professional.
Okay.
And, right.
Okay. All right. So the Afro. So let's just see how professional. Because now the clip that I'm about to show, I'm telling y'all, we're not making this up. She doesn't know I have these clips. Okay. Somebody just asked, "How are you getting those clips?" Girl, I'm a researcher. Okay. So I'm gonna tell you how to do this here. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna show you this clip, and this is why I personally am confused about the pickle of this beautiful textured hair, because this commercial that I'm about to show you, it best captures everything that Cheryl has said leading up to this very moment. Okay, here we go.
My hair looking dry, with conditioner and hairdress standing by. And when there's a problem with itching and flakes, the medicated has got what it takes. When I want my look to say, all right, a cornrow is really out of sight. Comb Easy makes it a breeze to comb through and braid with natural ease. And Spray for Sheen adds that extra touch for the glow in my hair. He loves so much. I may change my hairstyles frequently, but change from Afro Sheen, hey, not me.
Afro Sheen.
Oh yeah! Hey! Come on, Black people! I see y'all coming through the chat. This is the hair that I grew up with. So everybody's like, it's 4C, it's natural, you gotta put some water on it, you gotta stretch it. It's hair, for crying out loud. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to curb my enthusiasm. I searched high and low for that commercial because I don't know this craziness that's taking place. But I hear what you're saying, how that this out of the closet with the Afro. Now this is gonna really, we're about to get here. We're about to go. Yeah, everybody's like classic. Yeah, that's a lot of hair. So let's come on. Let's go a little bit deeper now. So you said coming out of the closet that other people had this texture. So here's the thing. When you listen to the new, I don't like the term natural hair. I'm free. Whew, I let it out. Okay. I don't like the term natural hair because if it grows on your scalp, it's natural. Okay. So tell us about the Afro hair that because you named, Jesus, sure, you took the Afro around the globe. Now we know this, but for some reason people that I'm from hip hop keep fronting, act like they don't know. So tell us about coming out of the closet for other people, how are wearing the Afro. And we're going to get into this tool that you keep, the comb was really the issue, because I know I'm missing the comb part. Kofi has a book, which I'm going to play that commercial about his book. But before we do those two other points, take us through the coming out of the closet for the other ethnicities and racial groups who have this texture hair that we swear up and down that this is a black marker, that if you have this hair, you're black. What's up with that, Cheryl? You talk about coming out of the closet with some Jewish people. They ain't black.
Right. This is the beginning of the two generations coming together, and that's why the Afro Hair Summit is so important. And you and I have spoken about having a black woman in representation of of what the Afro Hair Summit is about. And reason why that's important is because the gene expression of Afro-ness, Afro curly hair, as Dr. Morrow referenced it. There was no natural mention, because we are talking about anthropologically, the word natural hair is illogical. It's not scientific, and it doesn't have a place in the conversation, because the gene expression, which will give a person in Hawaii and Fiji and Malaysia and Cambodia, and we'll give it in all types of countries in the continent of Africa and Brazil, and even Sicilians. And you're talking about a gene expression that is so dominant that has lasted over the 25,000 years, and it is still completely expressing itself on human anatomy. And so biologically, Afro curly hair is the first archetype for hair, because it's a dominant phenotype or phenotype. And so when that is the beginning of the conversation, once we start there, it is very important for us to understand you will see other races of people.
I'm sorry. I got to interrupt, because you do understand, and you guys help me out. You guys drop your questions too while you're at it. Now, you do understand, and I've heard you say this on several occasions, and I'm struggling with this myself. I really am. And you're saying dominant gene, right, or dominant texture, and it's going to recess and express itself by going, this way, and then, you're going a little softer, and then you're going straight. That's what you mean, right? So, So how do we get to rethink, like, this is better though, like this straight hair, give us the confusion.
That's what the natural hair care, Y2K natural hair care, is trying to deal with. The problem is that they are confusing it with, like I said, they are a movement of anti-chemical. And so those are two socio-political frame constructs. They don't belong into the 1960s, because that is not what Black people were doing. And if they were doing it, then they would have subgrouped out, and then the rest of the world in South America, North America, Europe, in the continent of Asia, and the continent of Africa, it would not have spread, okay? Because there's different types of spectral, okay? It's a spectrum. Afro is so dominant. The hair is the archetype, and every other spectrum is a variation of the gene expression. The wide nose, my nose, your lips, your color, your brown eyes, as Jane Elliott would use brown eyes and blue eyes as to do her blue-eyed and brown eye test in terms of the political racist conversation. Okay. And that is one of the reasons why the C.R.O.W.N. Act will not work, because of course we've centered the conversation around natural hair and protective hairstyling, which, when you confused it like that and you framed it, the law like that, it's going to be hard, because hairstyle is mutable. And so that's going to be their argument all the time. But I digressed. But
that's real tough, and it's really going to get people emotional. I'm going to pick another clip that's around some of that, what you're saying. I hope this is the right one, because I didn't name them. I'm sorry. Let's see if this one is.
So natural hair has definitely been huge on the rise over the last couple of years, but one thing I've noticed in the natural hair community is that there seems to be texturism. And as you all know, texturism is the preference of curlier hair over kinkier hair. Those of us in the natural hair community who are natural, who aren't, what are your thoughts on that?
We're going around the room.
Anyone who wants to go first can go.
There's nothing wrong with that statement. I think that statement is totally true. That I know when I see a lot of natural hair advertisements or businesses, they usually go with a looser curl, and their angle to sell their product to you is get a more defined curl, so you can get like ringlets versus the kinky texture, and they kind of want to like control the curl instead of like letting it be.
Yeah. So I hope you guys are following along that the natural hair movement legally, I know, and I left on Monday, and God bless her. She is really putting forth a very gallant effort. Her name is, she's Attorney Green, and she helped to write the C.R.O.W.N. Act, but she is in a pickle because the natural hair movement, you guys don't understand that even if you twist your hair, you braid your hair, you lock your hair, you cornrow, you just let it quote unquote go free, you do understand those are hairstyles. They're not natural.
Right.
They're not natural. So take it from there. Take it from there.
The natural status that the young ladies were talking about is not in the coil. The coil, people, please, Black people, the natural status is not in the shape of the coil. That is what we call in the Black scientific world, and which we'll learn at the Afro Hair Summit, that is coil count. That is the gene expression. The coil is where the gene expresses, and how it expresses according to your hereditary or your chromosomes of what dominant genes that each parent are donating. The naturalness in which the young ladies are talking about is socio-political. That is not biology. That is not genetics. That is not anthropologic. It is not scientific, because what happens is that the natural hair care Y2K movement is still, in and of their good intentions, is still trying to make the strand be different than it would naturally perform in a natural environment or a biophilic environment. Once the hair begins to relax, they want to pull it back down to the shoulder. Well, there goes again. They are still trying to allow the hair to do something that it is not naturally going to do. And that is the difference between their parent generation that allowed the hair to be what it was in a natural biophilic environment. I hope that that is clear. And I am disappointed with the professors in the collegiate environment in Afro studies that they are not communing and conversing, and the attorney Green were not communicating, because we could have avoided the C.R.O.W.N. Act to be written the way it is. Because you have to understand, when young boys are denied to walk to get their diplomas, or they are facing some type of dress code discrimination, you have to understand, Black males are not wearing protective hairstyles. They are not protecting their hair. Most young males say, I'm wearing my culture. Well, then that's different. And so when he's wearing his culture, what he wants to go to the legislative and Congress and to these bills signing and these statutory amendments, he wants his culture protected under the U.S. Constitution, not the right to wear a protective hairstyle, and he wants that protected. So it's a slippery slope, and it's disappointing that we would have all of this praise for the C.R.O.W.N. Act, and I applaud its effort. I do. But we got it wrong because we won't converse and get the conversation right historically, scientifically, biologically, anthropologically, and we don't get it. We don't get the conversation right, and we're all talking about several different things. And what is running the conversation in the first place is racism, and you can't have a conversation about biology and science and deal with racism at the same time. You have to really make sure that you get it in context.
See that? For real, Cheryl, that's what I was going to say. I know y'all don't believe me, but I was going to say that. But Cheryl took the words right out of my mouth. And let me just say this, that as a cosmetologist, this is very hard to articulate because we experience, and when I say this, I don't know any other way to say it. So please forgive me to anyone. I am not really trying to be offensive. It's because I'm not Cheryl, okay? But it's the ignorance is really, it's hurting us as professionals because you're taking away this ability to be able to work. This, like she said, we just saw the Afro Sheen commercial, the phases of that hairstyle, and at the end it was Afro Sheen. These were major jobs, not just for companies but for chemists and graphic designers and store owners and suppliers of petroleum. This was a massive international.
Absolutely.
Words, there are no words to capture. So let me just replay a clip. We played it before about your father's contribution. So let's see this one more again.
Leaders recognized that PX stock was aimed primarily at white soldiers and their families, and that many black soldiers and their families felt ignored. They felt like they were not being treated as full members in the Army. The shelves on PXs were filled with shampoos that promised to bring out the natural highlights and the softness of hair. That wasn't welcoming. So they solved the problem that was within their sphere. The first thing they did was to identify a, quote, urgent requirement to improve haircutting for black customers, Afros. They located a black barber from San Francisco who had written about styling black hair, and they sent him traveling around U.S. military installations, Army installations all over the world. He spent 3 weeks in Germany and England, where he taught 750 barbers and 300 beauticians. And then he did a 40-day whirlwind tour of Alaska, Hawaii, and Southeast Asia. He taught barbers how to cut black hair. This is him teaching barbers in Tokyo. I gave this a version of this talk in Tokyo in January, and had a lot of requests for copies of this photograph. Afros, yeah, you know, they're sort of modified, but at least they were teaching the proper tools and techniques, and they were guaranteeing that they wouldn't be charged more for Afros than white soldiers were charged for regulation haircuts. It wasn't going to be a specialty haircut. It was just a haircut.
Boom. Just a haircut.
Are you guys?
It wasn't weird. It wasn't. It was the way black people's hair grew. Now, also, if you had some remnant of Afrocentric ancestry, you had Aborigines of Australia, Afro curly hair, Hawaiians, Afro curly hair, Samoans, Afro curly hair, Fiji, Afro curly hair, India, Italy, Brazil, Peru, Caribbean, Barbados, Jamaica, United States, Eskimos, Indo-Afro-Chinese, and that is how absolutely fabulous Berbers, Ethiopians, and what most people don't realize is that this is how gene expression works. Barack Obama has a white mother, had a white mother, and a Kenyan father. My father had two black parents, but my father's hair is straighter than Barack Obama's. So the gene, we have to really wrap our mind around the incredible conversation that now we have double work to do, because the Afro hair is locked into a subgroup called natural hair. And so we've got another heavy lift, because we have a generation of black young people and millennials, and let me just say this, and now they threw in other aspects of Afro hair expression in terms of political expression, which locks falls into that category. And locks now and braids and twists are becoming the poster child of what the definition of Afro hair is. And we have to understand that when the word lock is in the Bible, it's not meaning a tangle, a mat. Not talking about people who are pulling their hair apart and creating tendrils. That is not what that is talking about. But we can get into that later. But we got a lot of peeling out to do, and that's one of the reasons why I think you thought of the town hall at the beginning of the Afro Hair Summit. We need a long conversation.
Yes, we need a serious conversation. To your point, Sandra, yeah, we have to get deep. We have to get deep because as you heard Dr. Beth Bailey say in her presentation, was that the Army solved the problem in the sphere. So Cheryl and I, we are committed to helping the C.R.O.W.N. Act because we know that this means a lot to citizens outside of this this podcast that you all are listening to. But as responsible cosmetologists and our commitment to our fellow humans, because remember, this texture, as she said, is it's the first type, and this expression, it changes as each parent gives you your own, chromosomes and DNA. You're going to come up with something totally different. So we need to, one, protect and that by teaching that process. One, two, you guys have got to understand that this is not a black thing. I think this is the worst thing that the natural hair movement has done, and like she said, because everything is getting so mixed up because people aren't talking. And this is why we are having the town hall, so that we can talk to you, you can hear from us, and it's not just Cheryl and I. Like, you guys can exchange with each other, and we hope that other cities will do the same thing, because cosmetology and barbering, and now the natural hair movement, we don't hear from our customers. We're kind of talking at you. So we got to stop that, because now we see something that's taking place that's very harmful. And so, like we said, the Army kind of solved this problem. So I know what the next question is. So how we get here? Go ahead.
Let me say this to my dear Black people. You are the mother and father of genetics. You don't have the right to be exclusive with gene expression. You are not the exclusive bearer of Afro curly hair. You are the giver of Afro curly hair. As you give it to the gene expression and however it expresses out, okay? Because when you mess with Africa and you mess with a dark, strong, first archetype gene expression, you're going to get anything. That's the point, because the genes maintain the continuum of the original archetype. So Afro curly hair is ubiquitous. It's not exclusive. Does that help us?
I think everybody in the chat is like, I saw a woo side go down. I saw a real, like, oh, that's right, guys. Because no two heads of hair are alike. Not even identical twins. Your hair is as unique as you'll never see another Ladosha. There'll be someone that might, I know me and Cheryl look alike. Come on, look at that. Don't be looking alike, But we're still different. And so hair is the same way. And it's bad Santa to say that this is your identifier. If you have this, you must have some black in you. Stop that. It's not nice. It's like you said, Miss D. Morrow, you love the scientific talk. That's the only way to help everybody, because science is like this little line in the screen. It's just to help, to bridge it and make it make sense so that we don't have some of this foolishness, because it feels good. I love this whole why you so happy when your hair is so nappy, and the blacker the berry, the darker the juice, and I'm blacker than you. That's all right between you and your cousins, but you can't put this stuff out in the world and saying all this stuff. This is the hair typing and 1A and natural hair, and people think locks is what Jesus wore. Do you really think they were in, and
let's just say this. And let's just say this, the comb is tens of thousands of years old. Hair manipulation is tens of thousands of years old. It goes back as old as humanity. And we all have one mitochondria mother. So that must mean we are cosmetically diverse, but human genetically, we are as diverse, but we are all humans. But we can also say that, once genes begin to express, then black Afro curly hair, the dominance, all of the dominance that belongs to our first black mother, that continues, that maintains the continuum. That's why it has to be dominant. And so the racist conversation allows us to get so far off with what is better and what is less than, what is merit and what is lower rank and higher. Because we have to understand, from European perspective, when you're talking about a different type of brain existence, their living existence, they see things from always at the opposite end of the spectrum. And so their way of thinking is always dichotomous logic. And so it always has to be an either or. That is not Afrocentric. And I think that if we can just understand that the naturalness is not in the coil, just like it's obviously not in the color, because you guys bleach, natural hair care people bleach, or natural hair care people color. But we just need to get past the racist paradigm. And I know it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard to do. But you know what, Elsa? Anybody watch Elsa? Come on, guys. What did Elsa say? Let it go. Come on, guys. Say what Elsa. Let it go. We have to let this go because it's terribly divisive. Ranking hair or owning it, like she said, Afro texture hair is the giver. We don't own this, guys, no more than white people, quote unquote, own straight hair. These are bad. These are. Is this political, socio-political stuff that you're talking about? Now, another thing that's going to come up. We got a few more minutes. And I see you, Miss Morrow, D. Morrow, because she's being such a nice lady. She's like, our people. I like you, Miss Morrow, and you just look so beautiful. Okay, so Miss Morrow said something that was very, very interesting as we wind this down. And so the thing about this natural hair, though, Cheryl, this movement, and she talked about, let me just put it up here. Let me help you out. Miss Morrow, because I thank you so much. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm a better hairstylist than I am there we go. Okay. Whoops. There it goes. Okay. This is a nice way to kind of take it down. She says, in a beauty pageant, the judges counted the child out and said her hair was not done in its natural state. So here's where it's about to get busy. You know what I'm saying? It's getting kind of hectic because people really see this. Let me bring her on back. That this is the new look of one of the looks of natural hair. Let me get that Maxwell. Y'all know that Maxwell. If I could just pass it by. Okay, so where do you draw the line between kempt and unkempt on the natural hair? Now it's gonna get. I'm just gonna, before you answer that, wait a minute, hold on, Cheryl. I'm just gonna tell you this is subculture. This is a subculture response coming from Key Lolo. Now, if you was brought up in my home, I'm gonna tell you right now, my mama would say, you better get back in that house and you best to comb that down. Cause ain't no shape, form, or fashion is that natural, is that a hairstyle. And that, to her, this only meant one thing: you must be crazy. So help us out with that fine line between Bahamadia au natural and my mama. You better get your ass back in that house because you ain't representing this family. You got to be crazy looking like that. So help us out. How do we straddle that fence?
Oh, here again, it's the question of the C.R.O.W.N. Act. But you have to also understand, in their perspective, they're correct. It is not done. Because, of course, how are you going to go into a beauty pageant, fork your hair out, part it, pat it down, it's all nice and fluffy, and it's combed out, and I know she had it gorgeous, right? But that's not the pageant for that, because at the end of the day, you are in a pageantry that wants you to spend an hour quaffing, and it's not about kept and it's not about kempt, because of course, let me just say this: Europe cannot talk about kempt and kept. They don't even have a very long history. I think Europe's been at least wearing deodorant, makeup, and all that for maybe 100 years. Because one of the things that you guys have to remember, the Milady textbook is only 100 years. So they haven't been really, have the beauty thing down. But let's just say this: that hairstyle does not belong in that kind of pageant. And I know what we were saying, that we want to always, go past every rule of every pageantry, but that pageant wasn't for that particular hairstyle, because of course, you Black people, you guys have got to understand, their hair is not done if they were to just come out with their hair straight down, right? When Black people just wear their hair out, yeah, it means different things in terms of beauty. Now, I would say, I'm just saying, if she was my little girl or my niece, that would not be the place for that, because it's a pageantry of coiffness and face and eyelashes and nail. It's high maintenance kind of pageantry. So it's unfortunate that judges would see that kind of hair, and she probably got it done in about 25 minutes, and but who's to say? And her hair didn't look like that doll head that that Ladosha got hanging up there, and I know it was gorgeous.
Oh, but no. This how it looked. No. It did. No, yes it did.
Show me a picture.
I can't. I will bring it up, but no, she did. She did have her hair. Can somebody Google it? I'm sure they're gonna say, yeah, she had it like this. I think she had a headband, if I'm not. Yeah, D. Morrow said. She said yes, it did. Okay. Yeah.
Well, that was not the place for that.
Okay. So there you have it. We have to put these things, in its proper context. Let's look at one more clip. We got a few more minutes here, so here we go. Let me pull up another clip. Sandra is really, really love it. And then we're gonna rock out with Kofi's book. So here's another thing that came up in my little research here was back that they were policing our hair like they're doing now. So let's see what they were saying back then about the policing of the hair. So here we go.
Cicely Tyson also donned her natural hair a lot during this time. But while the Afro was becoming legendary, it came to a point where many had to go into hiding and wear disguises that covered their natural hair because police officers started to target the Afro because they knew most of the people rocking their beautiful fros were most likely Black activists.
Well, you're still muted.
Yeah, so we hear that still today, that people are being targeted at their jobs. They feel like they're not able to, advance and move and represent in certain areas because of their hair. So kind of talk about, targeting and how do we work through, even with your example with the pageant, how does one with this Afro hair? How do we move through these spaces that we're trying to, like you said, break the rules?
I'll come out and just basically and say it. It is nothing. You can't fix people. You have to fix structure. And like Beth Bailey said very clearly, if the greatest, the most powerful military on earth, as the most intrinsic, with a lot of moving parts. You're talking about the Air Force, Marines, Reserve, Navy, Army, Navy SEALs. You're talking about a whole personnel, that the largest personnel workforce, on earth. If they have come to the meeting place and have already implemented such history, and the Pentagon being extremely forward at that time, they had a payoff. And Black people have got to go into court. We have got to go into Congress. We have got to go into our government, and we have to go into to advertising and corporations. And we have to be able to articulate, to show what history has already been done, show the case law, show what has already been done in history, and be able to make the argument that there is nothing more professional than a female, African-American female and African-American male military personnel. You don't get any more professional than that. And so also we have got to change the language and stop making the hairstyle the lead in the conversation, and to put the expression of African American citizens into the First Amendment, into the well-being and religious conversation that allows burqas and payos and Jewish their cultural expression, their religious expression. We have got to use different language so we can change structure. Don't change people. I don't give a shit what a white person thinks. I don't care what their personal opinion. What I am saying is that does that particular cultural expression or that well-being, to put the human being in their best performance energy, their best performance appearance, does that allow them to do their job in their job description? And to be able to have new language and fresh language that creates a different in structures, because the diversity and equity and inclusion, Black folks, y'all know who you are. You guys are not doing your job because you're not using the language and you're not using historical reference. You're doing heavy lifting that your ancestors have already done. And you need to be able to, and since we want to always talk about generational this, generational money, generational wealth, generational, well, use your generational statutory, law. Use your statutory and your inheritance in terms of human rights, and be able to frame these arguments better. And that's what I'm asking, the Department of African Studies on these college campuses, stop, talking low language, 20th century language. I mean, it's Afro Hair Summit. That's all I gotta say.
It's very that's why I was saying, guys, from behind the chair, it does make, especially those of us like myself. When I say I take my job seriously, I'm not talking about like I'm so serious like I can't style the hair. But we have to move past these things. I would think by now that the collegiate world would definitely, honestly, I thought they would have solved this, but they are really being influenced by, it's almost like the natural hair people or movement they're like bullies a little bit. They're just a little bit, because they're very intimidating. I mean, when you look at that image with the girls at the table or whatever, because they're just they're so staunch on their position that it's like it's Jim Jones. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Forgive me. Lately, my whole world is changing. I'm telling you guys, it's Jim Jones. They're drinking, they're serving up the Kool-Aid, and I'm sorry to see academia not move in and really help, because most universities, they consider themselves an extension of the community. A lot of their lectures are open to the public. They invite the public to come and use their spaces. They have scholarship programs. I mean, they really, really are an extension to the community. And I'm really surprised that even the one that I went to here on Monday, I was surprised to see an attorney say that she was going to legally define race. And I was like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to go there. We got to come on. But I'm not an attorney.
But I get it. She can't fix it the way the way the NAACP and the ACLU, the way college campus, the way they're going at it, they can't change it.
Yeah.
They really can't create very strong case law the way they're going.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. Miss Morrow says again that she's a computer scientist, and she already has less than 1% if they decide to hire her. Race comes up many times behind her back, of course. Also, when she's being considered for the job, and that her hair definitely adds another layer of acceptance. And so this is definitely, it remains to be a challenge. So with that being said, as we wrap this up, I think a nice way to move into another great topic to me it would be to start with those locks. The lock world, I don't know what these people are doing. I'm gonna use Kofi Paisai. He has a nice commercial about his book, and his book, it takes us on a journey. And and this is, again, I'm not trying to be insulting to anyone who wears any kind of a lock, be it a faux lock, a lock extension. You took somebody's locks and you cut them off and you attached them on, you shared them with your cousin. It doesn't matter. I just want you guys to really understand one thing. It's a hairstyle. It is a hairstyle. Please stop drinking the red Kool-Aid about these locks. So we're going to take you guys on a journey about locks, and we want to help bring this together. And we're going to talk a little bit about academia. We're going to kind of fuse that in, because a lot of people's understanding about locks it really is coming out of this place called history. So we've got to put it in its right context and maybe help the locticians. You know, this is why Cheryl said we need to have the summit. So let me play Kofi's commercial about his book, and it's not a heavy, hard read. Okay, it's something you could, you know, with your children, and the images in there. So this is not heavy, hard material, but it will help you see the different types of hair styles. So let's rock Kofi's commercial right quick. Here we go. Oh, wrong one. I think this is it. If it's the wrong one, I'll put it back. Let's see. Is this one?
Africa's hair, before, during, and after slavery. Available March the 30th, 2023.
All right, let's give it up for Brother Kofi Pie-Side. When I tell, boy, I need a commercial for my book. I was just like, I was looking for the Holy Grail, you know what I'm saying? Very, very exciting. And again, his book is all about, let me see if I can just put that up. You guys might want to, check his, he has a Facebook page. You can check it out. He also has a book printing company, and it's called Same Tree, Different Branch. I thought, is that his book? No, that's not it. Is that it? Oh, let's see. No, that's me. You guys don't want to see that. Okay, I thought I had a copy of his book. But anywho, his book is going to be available March 30th. We're going to get him onto the show to talk about it. Here it is. Oh, it's too little. But you can also see Kofi in the documentary. And Kofi is letting you guys know that a lot of the stuff that Cheryl was talking about with this ownership, like we own, like this is black, this is us, this is ours, that no, this is a giver of all the other expressions. I love that. I think Miss Morrow in the chat loves that as well. And he's saying that the hair stuff that we're doing here, that's not, and you don't. I went to the Gambia. They don't even have any concept of this crazy stuff we're doing over here about good hair, bad hair, and all this other stuff. So we're going to have him onto the show to talk about this. But next week, we're going to take you guys, get all your lock people together, everybody, get y'all sage, get y'all, because I know some of y'all still drinking the Kool-Aid, you know what I'm saying? Everybody get their books, get y'all little, headbands, bring your locks, put on some Bob Marley and everything, and we're going to take you guys on a lock journey, and we're going to just kind of fuse in a little bit about what could academia do more to help us common folk out. A lot of us are going to go to school. We want to work, we want to major in all of these disciplines that we know the collegiate world can help us out. So we're going to tag a couple of professors. That's right, get ready, all my professors. We're going to tag you guys, and hopefully you all will join us in the chat because we want to help everyone out. So the Afro Hair Science Summit, we are working on the website. We talked to my son, and he's getting ready to put together like a cool website. We're also going to have a town hall, We need to hear from the public, and we want to let you guys know that we are here. And like I said, I'm going to be the auntie of the profession. Call me TT. TT. Auntie Dodo, Auntie Kilolo, and my goal, this is personal, is to unite the disciplines, the barbers, the cosmetologist, and the natural hairstylist. It's time for us to come together, and this is one of many steps. Now, we can't get it all. It's not going to happen at this Afro Hair Science Summit in one. This is why it's called a summit, because we want to come to your place. We want to reconvene. We want to have more classes. We do have the support, by the way, of the Ohio Association of Beauticians. So people are starting to come on like, yes, yes, yes. And maybe we'll bring Dr. Hosey in after the LOC conversation and just talk a little bit more specifically to the community. So for now, I think that's it. But get ready. The Afro Hair Science Summit is going to happen right here in Cleveland, Ohio. Cheryl Morrow is going to be our educator, and we're just going to have a wonderful time. Is there anything that you want to add as we close up? Now that we see the movement, it's really about giving. This texture is a giver, guys, okay? So close us up with a little bit about understanding this whole Afro-ness, this beautiful hair.
I think what we are really going to have a takeaway of the Afro Hair Summit is that, one, we're all recipients of the greatest gift in humankind. We are also providers of art and expression, and but one of the most important things is that we do have to be the purveyors of compassion. And Black folks around the world have been the greatest friends of liberty. And we need to talk about Blackness in a way that allows us to raise the level of our consciousness with ourselves, be more compassionate. I mean, there's nothing more compassionate when you're doing someone's hair, because you're not just doing their hair, you are putting the pieces and the fragments, the fragments of their self-esteem and self-awareness. And once you understand that incredible responsibility, the ultimate responsibility is to buy a ticket and to learn with each other the ways of a man that, my father has spent his whole life trying to put in illustration, put in writing, put into documentation, the instructions of the ages. And through him, we are going to be able to sit down and learn. I'm just the interpreter to bring it down to, to our realm of comprehension. And we can do this, y'all. Okay?
It is going to happen. We are going to do it. Like we said, it's not going to happen in one sitting. It's going to take, this is now going to be a continuum. We hope the Afro Hair Science Summit will take Afro hair to new heights, into new places, into new environments with new people, and we can unite. The goal is really to unite us, to bridge the racial divide. No, it should be no more. White people should not be afraid of this hair. All this stuff about it's difficult. We got to stop saying this stuff. It's highly hard to comb. It ain't no hard to comb. Come on now, people, okay? So we're going to help out with that, and then we're going to receive some certification and all this other cool stuff. Where can you contact Cheryl? You can reach out to her through her inbox on Facebook. She's at Cheryl Morrow. I'm not giving out her phone number. However, for the right amount of money, meet me in the back. No, I'm ghetto. Fabulous. Money makes the world go round, so let's handle this. You know what I'm saying? For the right amount of money, I drop 10 of them digits. You know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, you just started following me. Everybody wants to talk to Cheryl. It's okay. I get it. Hey, why y'all think that's my PNC? So reach out to Cheryl. on Facebook. She is kind, and she will definitely respond to you. And what you guys, talk about, that's cool. But please reach out to her. She loves to hear from you guys. And everybody who's going to be watching this post alive, Cheryl and I, we thank you guys so much for sticking around until the end to hear what we have to say. Remember, this is really all about helping to change the narrative. So we want you to take snippets and pieces of what we're sharing with you and go out into your communities and change the narrative. We hope that when you hear people say, that's how you know she black, we want you to say, no, we are givers. This texture gives. This is what this is all about. We don't own it. So go ahead on, pour out the red Kool-Aid. Don't let them Jim Jones y'all, because I can't come to all these hair funerals, okay? All right. She said you've been watching me. Cheryl, we got us a binge watcher. Miss Morrow, you should have put that in the chat. I'm gonna have an ego. Cheryl, we got us a binge. Hey, all right, Miss Morrow, we gonna make sure we got a little gift for you, girl. We gonna find something. I hope you live in America, because if not, it costs so much money to ship stuff outside of America. I had to stop saying I was gonna give stuff away for free because everybody was coming through from Mogadishu. I'm like, what? Look, Sandra, what that?
That's right.
Sandra, I'm like, oh, I can't afford to send that. Yeah, I'll send you a letter.
We're going to unite the continent.
That's dope. She said, yes, you're in America. Yes, you're okay. All right. So you're here in America. You're an American. We can see. I'm sorry, everybody out the globe. We ain't got there yet, but it's happening. I feel a syndication. I don't know about you, Sandra and Miss Morrow. I feel like Cheryl and I, we're going to end up with a real live talk show, and it's going down. So we thank you guys so much for being our partners right here on the dumbest ish that people say about black hair. Not everybody in the chat like I'm an American. I love y'all. I love y'all so much. Y'all just don't. I want my flag at. It's up there. We're going to come back with that. I love y'all, okay? All right, guys. So we're going to be back next week, and we're going to be locked up. Don't let me out, okay? So we're going to be back talking about those locks. We're going to fuse in how we feel the collegiate world can really, really help us out, okay? All right, guys. Thank you so much. You know what we say? We're always signing out, right? We're always talking about a whole lot of peace. For sure, a whole lot of love, and most certainly a whole lot of hair. Remember, new terminology now, a whole lot of hair. But you know what? Check this out. If you ain't got no hair, if you don't want no hair, you can't stand it, maybe you got some bald patches, maybe you broke a piece off. You know how you break a piece off and you think your hair is messed up? No, you ain't. It's all good. You know what? Because all that's beautiful too, and so are you. Thank you, Cheryl. This was a dynamic, Absolutely. And I do mean a dynamic podcast. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.